It was a heightened level of intensity. I felt like this team went in there with the intention of having a good meet and controlling their gymnastics and doing everything they can to come out of there with a victory. And we were on pace, and we were doing exactly what we talked about the whole week prior to, is stay with them or be slightly ahead, and we were a fraction behind after the first two events. And the things that came out of our control, Sarah Edwards, going down on floor. But we had two incredible performances at the end of that lineup, and Ruby started us off well, and we had a little glitch in the middle of the lineup, and then finished up really, really strong and took that momentum to balance beam, and did as well as this team can do on that event. I felt like the critical performance in there was Sammy Durrani really being aggressive and hitting a beam routine that set up the end of the lineup.
How do you get that aggression and, I guess, more focus out of it? What was the difference this last week that, I guess, got them to maybe focusing a little bit more?
Well, sometimes I think there's more distractions competing at home. It's your crowd, and they're for you, but sometimes, especially with a young team, the energy is sometimes focused on helping the young kids get through this and understand the process. But the whole energy, the whole focus, there was a whole lot of fight the entire night in this team. A lot of stuck landings that the crown was really being passed around. I just can't say enough about how they internalized their preparation, how they internalized the mission, what we're here to do. This is a business trip, what we're here to do, and they went after it. And falling short and not winning was a disappointment, but I was very, very pleased with the level of intensity of the team.
How long will we be without Sarah?
That's left to be seen. She was at least walking on it yesterday and moving around. So it just depends on how quick this sprain will heal, and what kind of magic our training room can do to get the swelling out and get her back on her feet. So could be 3 weeks, as much as 3 weeks. Hopefully not, but that's probably what we're preparing ourselves for.
And who do you have any? Who are the candidates to fill her?
Well, we opened our season with Lexi Nibbs in there. She's a walk-on from a little freshman walk-on, who's really not ready to compete at this level. But right now, it's based to other circumstances that are out of her control. It's really all we have.
Was it an ankle or is it a knee? What was
it's an ankle.
Ankle?
Yeah, an ankle. And we've looked at the film of it and can't see actually where it happened. So just one of those things. She had a beautiful double layout. Chest was down a little bit, landed it kind of hard, and the mat was a little bit hard compared to what we have at home and maybe what we had at Georgia. But it is what it is, and she'll recover and she'll come back, and we'll get her back on the two events that she's critical in.
Lexi would do which event?
Vault.
Oh, so who would fill her?
Bridget Dean will probably be the person that will go in on floor, unless, in the next couple of weeks, we're hoping to get Christina Desiderio back in on beam and floor. If that happens, then she and Bridget will compete for that spot.
I think I seem like I ask you about Alona every week. Did you think about putting her back in the lineup?
She warmed up really, really well, Scott. She did a beautiful, beautiful bar routine in warm up. There was no clutter. She just got her job done. She did a lot of beam work on the floor. Didn't want to take up any team time from balance beam. But she's going to have a full week of balance beam this week. We're working on a new dismount with less pressure on her Achilles. So we're hoping that we can use her on bars at Oregon, and then possibly use her on balance beam or do an exhibition at Oregon, since it's not a conference meet. So we're looking at the immediate future.
Any thought to maybe, when she's ready to do two events, then maybe you bring her back, because it takes a little pressure. You're doing just one event, there's a lot of pressure to do really well.
Right. We would like to, because you spread that attention out and you're not so hyper focused on that one event. And I think that was her problem on bars. But she's doing beautifully in the gym. So we're gonna go kind of with that and have every confidence that when we put her in again, she's gonna hit.
Is there anything surprising at all about what Kaya continues to keep doing? I think it's starting to become a norm at this point.
No, nothing surprising. But when the middle of the lineup kind of supports the end of the lineup and they get a good solid high score there, it does build momentum towards the end. And she's has been fortunate enough to be able to take advantage of that when you get a beautiful vault like Kennedy Edney did, and then, you know, Kai comes back with a double, then it's really, you know, kind of a 1-2 punch at the end of the lineup. And I could not have been happier with how Kennedy performed, but how she conducted herself on the floor and her attention to the details of being a senior and in that kind of environment. She and Ruby were both incredible leaders.
You called them a 1-2 punch. How important are the two of them going to be at the end of most lineups?
Well, it's
this
kind of
season?
the same importance that we had with Lexi Priestman and Sarah Finnegan, or McKenna Kelly and Sarah Finnegan. I mean, Sarah always had someone in front of her that was giving her the one before she got the two.
I guess I think it's interesting whenever like talking about the like journey for each team. Obviously, every team's journey is different. This year's team, how is it kind of different from last year's team? I guess at this point of the year, I think last year was more deal with kind of injuries and trying to figure it out. This year, where do you think this team is?
Well, we've been dealing with the same kinds of issues, the same kind of, you know, getting recovered and getting back in the lineup, and that being a little bit slow, and carrying injuries from last year into this year, and that being a little bit slow, but you can't predict that. But I think we struggled last year early in the season and did not compete at the level that this team's capable of. And I think that we have competed at a very high level on different events up to this point. And this week, every event, balance beam, vaulting, and bars were incredible. Last week, floor was incredible. So, you know, looking forward to what we're going to face Friday night's a very improved, very good Alabama team. So, you know, what we did Friday night, we'll have to come in here and do it and plug in a hole in floor and hope to go 49-3 or 4 on floor.
It's confidence now that you kind of build from that as well. I mean, especially
Yeah.
on the road. I mean, you
Yeah,
are
I
that
think
confident.
the kid. I think they've got that been there, done that attitude a little bit, and let's just go out and do our job and win this meet, because it's all about winning.
Olivia Gunter, we talked about it after the last home meet, but just to see her, you know, come off that injury and just be a staple in the floor lineup now,
Yeah.
you know, how great is that for you to see as a coach?
She's fighting like a tiger to stay in that lineup. She knows she's going to have to clean up that double Arabian landing. She knows that to stay in that lineup, she's going to have to remain competitive and remain relevant. And right now she is relevant and she is competitive. And she set Sarah up. She went 9.85. She set Sarah up. Had that not happened to Sarah, she'd probably go 9.9, and the outcome of the meet would have been maybe a 1 or 2 tenth difference right there at the end, which would have been a real push.
How difficult is that double Arabian, you said?
Double Arabian's hard. You turn a half flip into it, a double flip in the air, and then you have to land blind. So I mean, it's a whole lot more difficult than a double layout. Sarah also has another E-move. She does a double full. So, you know, we now know that when we get her back, the double layout won't be on the table. She'll be doing a double full, and then maybe by the end of the season, we're on a podium, we might let her go back to the double layout. But for right now, we're going to play it real conservative with her.
You've had a few gymnasts that have been committed to other schools at the beginning of their process and then switched to here. How are you able to convince those girls to come to LSU, and how does that process work?
Well, that's kind of a talk to themselves, self-talk, and they decide, Kaya, for one, we wanted her very badly, but when she came here, she had just had an injury, and we just weren't sure, and then she progressed through the season. It got a whole lot better. She did not want to commit where she was originally committed, and it was very easy for her she came back to our camp, and it was very easy for her to transition back to her original first choice. But it's really never something, at least it's not something that the coaches push, and, you know, we can't get on the phone and call them. But once they put their name in the, you know, and out there that it's really where I want to go, then they generally will turn the corner and go back to where they originally, their first choice. It's originally where kids end up wanting to go, and it's where they end up.
And can you talk a little bit about D-D Breaux, how she just came in January and how she's kind of figured it all out?
Yeah, she's got a lot of power and a lot of potential, and she is beginning to figure it out. And, you know, we've got, you know, a little more work to do trying to straighten out that vault and get her comfortable, because we've seen what she can do. We've watched her compete through the years. We know what she's capable of. She's another one that may be ready to go on floor pretty soon and might plug in that hole where Sarah's leaving us a hole. She does great difficulty. We've just got to make sure that she's confident and she's ready for the level of pressure that she'll feel when she's in that PMAC.